Caveat in this, there is free will, free will, free will. Hello friends, welcome back to the Rainbow Moon Oracle. I'm Rayo, and today I wanted to discuss an interesting topic that I thought people might enjoy or have an interest in or a question about. So, can you check on how somebody's feeling? Can you check on your crush's feelings for you through tarot and oracle? Short answer, yes, but some caveats on that for sure. So, the first kind of thing for whether or not you can use tarot or oracle to check on somebody's like feelings or emotions or what they're thinking is your own abilities. So there is a lot of intuitive work that goes on with tarot, especially if you're really working to become a really good reader and work through and build up a skill set. So your own ability to discern different feelings and emotions and whatever whatever clair you have potentially for clairaudient, clairsentience, whatever, clairvoyance. There's going to be a means to figure out what's kind of happening and discern those feelings that are happening with inside yourself, your intuition, your what you're experiencing outside of yourself in order to learn and gain the knowledge of what somebody else is feeling through tarot. So pairing with that though, using tarot decks and stuff, different cards, it's going to change up for how you are perceiving the card itself. So if you worked with the deck a lot, for example, and you see a specific thing on there that you haven't really noticed before, that's your sentient, like your other intuition knowing kind of coming through and saying, hey, this is important based on connecting with the energy of that person, right? So it's important to be able to connect with that person's energy. You're asking to be able to connect with that person's energy, and then you have to be able to discern what you're feeling and what you know and how that translates into what you maybe already know about the situation and what that person's feelings. Have you seen them out in real life and what they're going through? And working with the decks, depending on which one it is going to be important as well, right? So, for example, like my Santa Muerte deck here, this one's a little bit more mean. This one is going to be straight up and upfront about what's kind of going on, right? It's going to be, hey, this is what this is why this is what's important. Versus like something like maybe like my Halloween tarot, for example, or I don't know what the other one here. Maybe like the Wild Unknown or something. That's going to be depending a little bit more, it's going to be a little bit more soft with the reading. It's going to be like, hey, this is probably what's happening versus this, or this is what's going on. In terms of tarot anyway, and then if you throw in oracle decks, you're going to get very different questions you might have, and then answers for those questions, right? So like my alchemy deck, when I was doing a reading for it in a live stream, it was the alchemy deck is more tailored towards like transformation. So if I'm asking about like my crush's energy, I'm like, okay, how is my crush's feeling changing for me? That would be like a good question for the alchemy deck, because it's talking about alchemy and transformation and that change and transition. So that would be another good one for like, hey, a relationship, right? How is our relationship transforming? How is our relationship progressing? That's a good one for like the alchemy deck. If you're asking like, what is this relationship teaching me, or what is this relationship teaching my partner? Like something like the archetypes is going to be good, right? The bigger overall themes. So in terms of checking in with somebody's energy, you get it more tailored based on the deck you're using, in my experience, and the skill set you have to interpret that energy. So you have to have skill in order to be able to figure out what's going on with the feelings of others. So that's why some of the readings you might find on YouTube in tarot and stuff, where it's like, okay, how's my person feeling, or what's the energy of my person? That if that reader is really, really skilled, you're going to get some really solid answers potentially. However, caveat in this, there is free will, free will, free will. So second point for being able to check in on the energy of like your crush, your partner, family member, or whatever, is their own free will is involved in this as well, right? If somebody is not open energetically or does not want you to check in on their energy, you're not going to get a lot, unfortunately. So how you ask your question and how you are checking in on the energy is really important here, right? So if it's somebody you're really close to and they are very open with you in general, then you're going to potentially be able to get a lot of energy from them, and the cards are going to give you a much clearer reading than you might otherwise have. If somebody's not a very open person in general, or they reject a lot of things spiritually, or they are just privates in that spiritual context, you're not going to get as much out of it. So then you have to, if you want a reading, a productive reading for yourself, if you're asking how your relationship is with that person or whatever, you have to go a little bit more broad and a little bit more general, in my opinion, on that, because the person's not open to it. So you have to ask questions like, how is this benefiting me? You ask more questions based on yourself versus that other person's energy. So how is yada yada's person, blank's person in my life, how is that affecting my love life? How is that affecting my spiritual growth? Things like that. So that person's effect on you specifically. And then you can kind of intuitively figure out how that person might be feeling about you, or how that is perceiving you, right? If somebody's in your life to teach you a karmic lesson, they might have feelings for you, but it might be ones where it's the way, if you're not emotionally available, right? You brought in this person that is not emotionally available to you in order to teach you this lesson. So their feelings might not be what you want them to be in this case. So keep that in mind. The free will is super, super important. And that's why in any tarot reading or in any like personal reader and stuff, they're asking for consent, should be asking for consent to work on that energy. And you can ask consent energetically of that person if you I would recommend that, but you're not going to get a good energy reading from that person if they don't consent to the reading in the first place. So that's when you have to go more broad and more general for how the reading is going to progress. Another factor to kind of keep in mind if you're checking in on the energy of like your crush or a person in your life is the lesson behind it in like the bigger universal picture, right? The universe is not going to let you have access to energy that you're not ready for, in my experience, or that is detrimental to your growth. So something this reminds me of that I heard like with John Edwards when he's a psychic medium, right? So I think his mother had passed away, and the spirits in the universe would not let him talk to his mother after she had passed away. He did not have access to her energy and could not talk to her, even though he is a super talented medium. He can talk to many other people and lots of different things. His guides prevented it. His guides and the universe prevented him accessing that energy and talking to his mother, who had passed on to the other side. And this is for a couple reasons. This is for his own spiritual development and his lessons. And keep in mind, this is where the human ego comes in too, where it's like, okay, hey, you have this ability, you have this access, and you want to be able to use it in whatever capacity you want to, right? And that's not why we are given these abilities and gifts most of the time. It's to help others. So him accessing and having being able to connect with his mother in a mediumship way on the other side was not going to benefit. It was for his own ego and his own missing, and he couldn't go through the process of grief and working through like his mother actually being gone if he was able to constantly talk to her through his mediumship abilities with her being passed on. He was not going to be able to learn that lesson that was needed here in order to progress and actually have the proper human experience of grief and loss and the healing that comes with it in the long run. So that is something that happens with tarot and when you're connecting with somebody else's energy, right? If it's tarot readers on YouTube, in this case, where they're more general readings, that this doesn't come up as often. But when we're asking about specific people and specific situations, the universe is going to allow things to an extent that it's not going to be detrimental to our overall goal of healing and progressing and learning and growth. So that's super important to keep in mind as well. So the short answer, yes, you can 100% use tarot and oracle to connect and figure out how your crush is feeling about you. But you're not always going to get the answer you want because there is free will involved. So somebody who does not feel the same way about you, or something like the Lovers in Reverse is going to pop up and you're going to be upset about it. So it's something to use at your own risk as well, because you're not going to get the answer you want potentially all the time. Or you might get the answer you want, but it's not in the way it won't progress in the way you think it will, because maybe that is the person's energy at the time, right? That you're checking in with the person and that energy and having consent to check in with that energy at a specific time. But people's lives change constantly, right? Our lives can change at a moment's notice. So they're with that free will involved and their goals and their lessons that are progressing, then something happens and changes, and then that situation won't progress in the way you were hoping because something has changed on that other side. Something has changed in their situation and their free will and their choices that they're making. So all of a sudden these paths diverge, right? So you checked in, if you're like forking paths, right? So it's like we're here on the path and we're checking in here, and yes, they feel the same way about us. The cards we're getting show that there's emotions there and that we're learning things and we're feeling that energy together, right? And then something happens up here, and then all of a sudden these paths diverge, and all of a sudden it's like you check in again, right? And you're over here, you're doing your own thing and they're doing their own thing on this side, because all of a sudden the situation changed for them. Maybe they had like a loss, or they have a career change, or something big happens, and all of a sudden, nope, they have to go that way as part of their journey and part of their growth, and they can't be in the relationship with you the same way that you had been hoping at the time. So lots of factors to keep in mind here when you're checking in with energy of other people. It's a balancing act between your ability and your skill set, their free will and their choices, and then what the universe is going to allow and let you have access to. So balancing all these kind of factors all in together and stuff, you can get really clear readings about others and situations, but the way you ask is going to be super important, and the way you connect with energy is going to be super important, because you are dealing with the free will of others. And that's always going to be the case when you're reading tarot for other people, and or have other people that you're thinking about or wanting to have access to through tarot and oracle, or even just psychic, any psychic energy in general, right? If I'm trying to check in on my friend psychically, if they're open to it, then I have a lot better access. If they don't want me to connect with them psychically, then I'm not going to be able to, or I'm just going to get a very, very general light picture of the situation that's happening. So it can depend on your relationship with that person as well. You might have more access to your friends and family than you do to your crush, who you don't know very well yet. So lots of factors to keep in mind. In my experience, the way to kind of get the best reading is to ask more general questions, and to ask questions about how it is going to benefit and or affect you. So you can always ask about your own lessons, your own progression, your own journey, and how these other people will affect your life, because that is your free will. That is your situation. That is your life. That is what's happening to you. So you have obviously much better access and clearer access to what is going on with yourself. The universe might still hide things sometimes if you're not ready for that particular situation or that particular answer, or you're not very clear in what you are asking. But I've generally had much better experience if I'm asking about somebody else through asking about me. So how is this person how is that affecting me? How is that going to change how I view things? How is that going to change my relationships? How is that going to, what am I learning from this situation with this person? You get a much clearer reading that way, because it is your energy you're asking about specifically. And that's what tarot is at the end of the day. That's what oracle is at the end of the day. It is a type of energy that you're exploring through yourself and through how you access the world. So hopefully this video made sense. Please feel free to have any questions down in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer them, or make another video if there are a ton of questions wondering about this. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe down below, see other content I have on this channel. That helped me out a lot, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you next time. Bye.